Hello and welcome. Request to all the viewers, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Now beginning with the topic that we are going to discuss today, that belongs to paper 2, chapter 8.1 and 8.2, which is impact of Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam and other religion on tribal society. There is similar topic which we have completed in the last video, that impact of Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Jainism on Indian society. Here the point is tribal society. If you go and see the mains paper of Anthropology 2020, you will find question from both the topic, impact on Indian culture or Indian society as well as impact on tribal society, and hence this topics from paper 2 becomes very important. The second thing which is important here and which is written here is tribe and nation state, and a comparative study of tribal communities in India and other countries. See, as far as this particular part is concerned, which is basically the tribe and nation state as well as impact, this is something which will help you fetch around 20 marks, this topic. If you make it 30, then the topic from unit 3rd, that is impact of Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, Islam and Christianity on Indian society, that will also help you in scoring around 30 marks, and hence this both the topics becomes comparative with to each other, complementary to each other, and will be very impactful for the study. Now we'll start with each and every religion separately. So first religion is Hinduism, and impact of Hinduism on Indian tribe. As far as Hinduism is concerned, almost 95% of the tribes, they have accepted Hinduism. We will study the concept of universalization and parochialization, where as a student you will understand that if this is great tradition, this is little tradition. For better understanding, you understand this to be an urban trait or a trait of urban culture, and little tradition for the rural one. Okay, so when a part of greater tradition comes to little tradition, that is parochialization. And when a part of little tradition is assimilated or becomes part of great tradition, it is called as universalization. Question separately can come on this two topics. Okay, so when LP Vidyarthi studied the sacred complex of Gaya, we find the mention of these two terms there. When we will do that topic, you will get to understand this two terminologies better. So Hinduism, when the tribes, they came in contact with outsider, particularly moneylenders or the big zamindars, which were exploitative in nature, and the tribal people, they misunderstood Hinduism with exploitation. But then the saints, through when they follow varnashram, in varnashram they follow vanaprasthashram. So they used to be a tribal teacher, teaching various things to the tribal and reviving the importance of Hinduism. So they these saints, they basically became teacher and taught the tribals about the Hinduism, and they made sure that these moneylenders and oppressive exploitators do not represent Hinduism. Now almost 95% of the population is following Hinduism, that is the tribal population. British policy and means of communication opened up tribals to the outside world. Now, if we talk about the areas which were basically affected, okay, so the Western India, for example, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. This Western India, here Bhils. Okay, then there are various tribes we'll talk about in detail. Then Southern India, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Okay, Southern India. Then Central India, which is basically MP, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh. Okay, and then Eastern India, that is West Bengal, and this is eastern part, and this is central part. So these were the people or area where the tribes were mostly affected. Now, how these people, the tribals, they came in contact with Hinduism. So the process include peasantization. As the economy started getting monetization or market economy started, the need for the money increased, and hence the tribals, they started be working as a peasant in the various big zamindars farm, and hence the peasantization started. And when peasantization started, they came in contact with Hinduism, and the various beliefs of Hinduism were accepted in the form of peasantized tribes. Then second is tribe caste continuum. Now, what is this tribe caste continuum is a topic that requires a separate attention, because this is a topic in itself. So we will have a separate video on tribe caste continuum. You just have to simply type tribe caste continuum in this playlist. You will find that video as well. For example, smooth process of impact of tribes without missionary practice, that is tribe caste continuum. For example, Gondan tribes. Then Surjit Sinha. Now, if you'll ask me that whether the name of these people, the scholars which appears in this answer is important or not, so these names are very important. If you write a good name with above and below good space and underline them, okay, so that is how you will highlight the name, and that is how you will fetch better marks, or your answer will look different than a common answer. So he gave a concept of tribal Rajput continuum. Tribal Rajput continuum. Next is tribe caste. Now, when these tribes were assimilated in Hindu society, they gradually accepted the caste system as well. For example, the Kol tribe, they accepted Hinduization. This was the study of Griffith. So basically, Griffith studied the Kol tribe and the process of Hinduization. Next is Sanskritization of tribes of assimilation. By assimilation, that is, the society got assimilated into Hinduism. Example is Tharu, which was studied by Srivastav. Okay. Then the role of Brahmanization. Because Brahmins, they provided various services to the people and introduced various tradition, customs, belief patterns, even gods, festivals to this tribal area, and they propagated that origin of every tribe is caste. Origin of every tribe is caste. And now this is basically the impact of Hindu, basically the interaction of Hinduism with tribal society. Now we will talk about the impact. See, as far as the impacts are concerned, there are two types of impact. One is positive impact and the second is negative impact. So we will deal with them, each one of them. Okay, so start with the positive impact of Hinduism on Christianity. On tribal society. So you will find that there will be very few positives impact of any religion on tribal society, and mostly there will be negative, but there are positive. Okay, so we will talk about them. First was rise of new socio-cultural system. Second was example, that is Raghuvanshi of Bengal. They got Gotra system from Hindu, and endogamy from tribal. Second, unfortunately, we see that the first representatives of Hinduism were moneylenders, sahukars. In basically, we sum up with the term exploitators. These were basically the exploitators, and if you look at them closely and clearly, you'll find that the tribal people misunderstood Hinduism with exploitation. But then the rules of various saints, sadhus, sannyasis, they tried to convince tribal, and they told that there is a disjunction between Hinduism and exploitator. Now we'll write down certain negative impact of Hinduism on tribal. So first is the replacement of tribal rituals and practices, and they came up with the Hindu complicated rituals. Next is they introduced a money system, and they established a need of priestly class. Then there is introduction of child marriage and gender inequality. Then the youth dormitory, for example Ghotul, these are certain, or Yo and Ban, these are certain dormitories. They were basically started declining, and the outsiders use it as for the exploitation, particularly the sexual exploitation. As far as your dormitory is concerned, various types of practices are performed here, which are life important and necessary skills. One of them is the sexual intercourse, where the elder girls of the dormitory will teach the younger boys of the tribe about the intercourse, and that is how the dormitory performs. Now this particular thing was exploited by outsiders. Then next was the exploitation of premarital and extramarital sex in tribe. Okay, so basically this comes under the sexual exploitation of women, because they were someone whose voice was not even heard, and that resulted in very poor situation that women even cannot complain anywhere. Then there was a replacement of bride price with dowry, and the fact that the marriages between the tribes, they were costing a huge chunk of amount, and hence again the formal institution will not give credit to these people, and they'll go to moneylenders, and moneylenders will exploit them throughout the life. uh, the exploitation was first monetary. When this couldn't happen, it turned into bonded labor, sometime or many a times into sexual exploitation. Next was the obvious result was poverty and exploitation. Then these are some of the negative impacts. If we start to write them, I don't think that there will be any limit to this, but we have to maintain a balance between positive and negative. We have given around 3 positive, at the same time we have given around a lot of negative, so even examiner understand that what is the impact of Hinduism on, or any other religion, on tribe. Now second religion which is important here is Buddhism. As far as Buddhism is concerned, you will see that the spread of Buddhism is mainly towards this Himalayan belt. Okay, so the true Buddhism, it is mainly centered around here in the Himalayan belt. So the tribes which came in contact were basically facing a lot of problem like identity crisis and various other forms. So we will discuss one by one. Now, for example, there are tribes like Bhutia, Lepcha, Chakma, and Naga. These are the tribes of northeast Himalayan region, and mainly they are Buddhist. I am saying mainly. Okay, so they have converted into Buddhism due to very closer location to Tibet, which is the hub of Buddhism in the world at this particular moment. Then relatively very few tribal societies came under the influence of Buddhism, which are basically the tribes that we have written. But there are few things which are important. We also have find some of the Buddhist tribes in this particular portion, okay, in this Himalayan belt, even in not Jammu Kashmir now, Union Territory of Ladakh we find it. Now the significant feature is in this context is the one of tribal communities have adopted this religion completely. None of them tribes, these tribes, they have accepted Buddhism completely. What they have adopted is Buddhism plus tribal. They have developed a different line of religion on their own genre. Now none of the tribal community have adopted this religion completely. The tribes from Arunachal Pradesh, for example Kamling and Subansari districts, they follow Mahayana. Okay, in Arunachal Pradesh, particularly Kamlang or Kaming, they follow Mahayana, or basically Tibetan Buddhism. Okay, and the Khamti, they follow Himalayan, which is basically lower Lohit rivers district. So most of the tribes who have adopted Buddhism continue to follow the social life and their traditional community and participate in traditional rituals. those who have taken Buddhism maintain a sacred place, sacred place called as Gompa, where the images of Buddha and sacred book is kept. And they started a need of sacred specialist, sacred specialist, to whom they called as Lama. Now, according to Hemmendorf, the tribal people who are attracted by Buddhism, unlike Christianity converts, do not opt out of social life of their own community and continue to participate in the various tribal traditional rituals. And among the Monpas, element of ancient Bon religion is also existence. If you talk about the Monpa, you'll find that the ancient Bon religion is there with Buddhism. And you will find that practices which are currently practiced by Buddhists in the particular society. Okay, so we see that there are various, we have written the positive and negative impacts of Hinduism. You can simply write down some of the selected points from this, positive as well as negative. Now we'll move to the next, which is the impact of Christianity on tribals. Now, this is important that the history of Christianity can be traced back to the colonization, because many rulers, including Mughals and earlier, they tried to maintain an isolationist policy as far as the tribals were concerned. But British had their commercial motive, that is wood and other minerals. So this commercial motive can be only fulfilled when the people of they restrict basically the tribals that they were talking about. So the Christian missionaries, they came as a savior to this tribal society. Savior in the sense that even today the various government initiatives are not being able to reach towards that particular moment, to that particular point in Northeast. If we talk about the so here the terrain is very hilly and there's difficulty of reaching towards them, but the Christianity and the missionaries have made sure that there is the various hospitals, clinics, education facilities. They have made sure that it reaches there, and there is very difficulty in understanding that if you're talking to a tribal person who will be even fluent than a person who speaks English in the mainland India. You'll find that the Christianity first you will find in southern India. The southern India include Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, etc. You'll find a predominance of Christianity. Then in the northeast you will find it in hills like Garo, Khasi, Jaintia hills of Meghalaya. And you will find them in Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now we'll see that what were the causes that attracted the tribes to join basically Christianity. So the very important cause here is that the ruthless exploitation by landlord and moneylenders who happened to be Hindus. First reason was exploitation by outsiders, which were basically Hindus, and hence people chose Christianity. Second was, here you can quote the example of coal. Coal's rebellion in Chota Nagpur Plateau. Next is, Christianity was the earliest channel for westernization, or you say modernization. Christianity, it provided a channel for westernization and modernization. What these two terms are basically, M.N. Srinivas I have given these terminologies. His contribution includes the terms such as modernization and westernization and the differences, which we will deal separately. Now, the impacts. See, there can be positive impact and there can be negative impact. Here we'll start with some of the positive. First, education, the formal education, which Christianity made sure it reaches to the tribal pockets of India. Then hospitals, that reaches towards both modern hospital and modern medicine, that reaches to the pockets. Then it started monogamy, and the divorce was discouraged. Then this Christianity gave sense of superiority. The next was abolition of the practice of burying newborn child if mother dies. So if mother dies, the child which was born was buried along with mother. Then these Christian missionaries, they started homes for homeless. Okay, Christian missionaries started homes for homeless people. Then we'll see that the better medical cover and sense of confidence was also provided by the Christianity to tribal. But there were certain negatives. The negative include, first, they create a complexities. Okay, this complexity started in social life, cultural life, and when we talk about the vertical division in society, this vertical division in society was also hampered, and Christians, even people belonging to same strata here, if a person is belonging here became Christians and here non-Christians. So this basic difference started, and hence the conflict in society also started. Then the migration to urban area increases, and hence the problem of slum dwelling, etc. started. Then there was a social tension, communal tension. Then tribal belief were denigrated. So basically, what the tribal practices were, they were basically degenerated, because hardly people now follow it, or some people even merge these tribal practices along with Christianity. Various tribes were having matriarchy, but this matriarchy was replaced by patriarchy in the tribe, and the concept of youth dormitory was discouraged. Okay, and this was basically done away, because when they will not have any place to gather, the ultimate place will become church for gathering. So hence they discouraged the youth dormitory. Now the consumerism. This consumerism is the biggest drawback that tribal people faced during their lifetime after the introduction of Christianity, because now they started using the money for the various uses which were not necessary. For example, goggles, perfume, shampoo, parties, western music, cosmetics. This was not needed for the tribals back that time, but this concept of consumerism, it started growing in the tribal, and hence it contributed in declining of their various basically the money form. Now K.N. Sahai gave a detailed contribution, his contribution is about details of tribals who converted to Christianity from Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau. So this is the important personality here. Now he says that Ken Sahai says that the tribals from Chota Nagpur Plateau, they developed a self-image and they started seeing themselves as the better one. They believed that the practice was of the best religion of the world, best religion, and hence they started getting kind of superiority feeling, or they started delinking their past, that from that moment they are part of something very big. This gave a sense of superiority, and this society has got divided because there will be Christian tribals and then there will be non-Christian tribals. So that is how the society was divided. Now the last topic here in the impact is Islam. See, Islam is the second largest religion in India, and the various principles of Islam has been great in attracting the masses. But while it made contact with the traditional society, it kind of accepted various part of Hindu society, and hence Islam lost its ground capture or mass connection with the tribals. So tribes in India live in relatively geographical isolated area. If we talk about tribes, they first isolated area, they have their own language, they have their own superstitions, they have their own belief, they have their magic, witchcraft, etc. They follow a mix of fetishism. Fetishism, it means that if certain thing has power, it is because of the structure of that thing, the way it has made. For example, the symbol Om, if it is made of, or you see the Christian symbol of cross, okay, so when it is made of wood or something, right, so that will be a fetish object. It will have certain types of superpower in it because of its innate nature. The second was animism and totemism. We have a separate video on this particular things, and this comes under your paper 1 religion. So you can simply go and watch this video, complete this topic as well. You'll get the basic difference between these three. Okay. There are, you see, various biogenic and linguistic variability. Biogenic and linguistic variability in Indian tribe. Now if we talk about the impact, the Islam could not penetrate to the tribal society as it was done by Hinduism and Christianity. Hinduism and Christianity. Because of the nature of Islam, that there is only one God, and this particular the way Christians has missionary tribal Islam did not had any patronage for the missionaries, and the spread of Islam was mainly attributed to Sufi saints. Then some of the tribes, for example Siddhis of Gujarat, a section of Gujars, Bhil of Rajasthan, Dhankhasi of Rajasthan, and Kotis also of Rajasthan, they came under impact of Islam. Then Gaddi and Bakarwal from Jammu Kashmir also came under the influence of Islam under Sufi saint. Now the only place where people have completely converted to Islam is Lakshadweep. So on Lakshadweep island, people have converted to Christianity, and the influence of Islam on Indian tribe is basically less than even 1%. Islam, you will see that due to its egalitarian social structure, it was accepted in these society, but it was highly dogmatic in nature. If we talk about Lakshadweep, there are 7 Muslim tribes. In Lakshadweep, there are 7 Muslim tribes. For example, Koya, Malmi, Thakru, etc. And the matrilineal tribes, they have converted into patrilineal tribe. Patrilineal and male authority basically have increased. And the life cycle rituals, which was like when a girl used to hit puberty, was given up. So this rituals was given up, and father assumed the responsibility of son instead of the maternal uncle. Now in all these tribes, Islamic personal law prevails and old rituals are fast disappearing. Cross-cousin marriage has now become more preferential. So you'll see that thing happening in Islam, and hence the endogamous nature, cross-cultural marriage, this have created a various biological problems, which we will do in chapter 9, paper 1. Now you see that apart from this, that in most of the tribes who have come under the influence of Islam, even though Islamic great tradition is paramount, the tribal little tradition still persists. So even if the people of the tribes, they have accepted Islam holistically, you'll find that there are essence of tribalism in there. The next topic is 8.2, which is tribe and nation state. Okay, tribe and nation state. You see, you have to understand this will basically come for short note, or it may also come for a long answer. In even mains 2020, you will find recent question on this topic as well. So you see that this chapter 8, paper 2 is very, very important along with paper chapter 3 of paper 2. First, we understand what is nation. We have made a definition of tribe. Tribe is a group of people relatively isolated, separate language, believe in the mixture of fetishism, animism and totemism. They have their own traditions, rituals and practices. So that is the basically definition of tribes. Now we'll write down a definition of nation. Nation is basically a psycho-cultural notion. Okay, and nation may or may not have a boundary, and state is basically a politico-legal okay. So nation will not have a boundary in general, but when it comes to state, it will have a definite boundaries. Now these boundaries of the nation and state are same, it becomes nation state. When, for example, here if we can write down an example of Saudi Arabia is a nation as well as state, so we'll call it as a nation state, where the political boundaries coincides with the psycho-cultural boundaries. Okay, and it becomes nation state. Traditionally, the basis of nation state was ethnicity, that people of one ethnicity lives together, and hence that becomes a as one ethnic country and a nation state. But this concept is not applicable for the country like India, where you will find Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Zoroastrianism. So you will find this multi-ethnic society in India, and hence you cannot imagine of nation state of India. But even if you'll find this multi-type of ethnicity, Indians, they're first Indian, and then you'll say that these other parts, that is religion or the identity comes. So basically Indians, you on paper you cannot call it as a nation state, but definitely you can call it as a nation state once you understand what India is or what India represent. Now we have written down tribe. Tribe is a group of family who live in common area. They have relatively geographical isolation, okay, speak common language and follow the common rituals and taboos. So this is the definition that we have written above, and this is the definition which I have told. So this definition is given by B.K. Roy Burman. So B.K. Roy Burman is important for tribe. So when we'll do tribal anthropology, you have to understand that B.K. Roy Burman is the person who gave this concept, this definition of tribe. Now there are two types of nation state. First is uni-ethnic and second is multi-ethnic. You can say India in the multi-ethnic, and the European countries, basically they comes under the uni-ethnic countries. Now the basics, that the conditions of tribes in different nation state. So you see that if we draw a tentative map, I already have told you I'm pathetic at drawing, but still I think okay, I hope this is something looking like Asia, Australia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America. I understand that these diagrams are very poor, but I hope you understand it well. Now if we talk about USSR, see, USSR basically half is European and the other half is Asian, so it's Eurasian country. There were different type of tribes which were living in USSR. Now after the disintegration of USSR, you'll find the countries like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, the various countries on the border of USSR, where these were basically the tribes, okay. So these tribes, they dissociated themselves from the main center, that is Russia or USSR, and you find that their aspirations were not fulfilled, and hence they revolted, and it led to the Kurds or Chechens. These people, Kazakhs, Uzbekis, Kyrgyz, these people were not happy. Their aspirations were not fulfilled, and hence they revolted and they got separate countries. Even from the time of Lenin, you find that these tribes have got reservation in the USSR. Okay. Now if we talk about USA and Australia. The original people, that is American Indians or Red Indians or Australian Aborigines, they were sidelined from the pictures when Europeans, they colonized the world, but when you were talking here, they also spread the people in North America as well as Australia. So the indigenous people, they faced discrimination and racism. You see that no right to vote was given to the indigenous people till 1930, and many tribes like Red Indian, Zuni Indians were kept in sanctuaries like they were some piece of artifacts. Some of the conditions of Arungata and Arundata tribe, Arungata and Arunda tribes in Australia. So these basically tribes were kept in sanctuaries where people would come and see them as they are someone. That's a pathetic thing. Next is Africa and Saudi Arabia. The conditions in Africa as well as Saudi Arabia, it's better, because Saudi Arabia, as we have talked, is the only nation state, perhaps the only nation state, where the psycho-cultural boundary coincides with the political boundary. And even Africa is concerned, it's a land of tribals. It's the cradle of civilization according to various tribes, various scholars. Okay, so that is the state of tribes in Africa. The last here we'll talk about is India. In ancient time, various tribes were autonomous, but after colonization, they were subjugated. After independence, they were given constitutional protection in the form of 5th and 6th schedule, and but there is at the same time there is need to be done more, because the people, they are living for thousands of years, they are living in isolation, and when the world is opening to them, the globalization is reaching to them, it becomes difficult for them to survive, and hence the many tribes in northeast, they have revolted. You'll find the NSCN, Keplang, NSCN, IM, etc. NSCN, if I'm not wrong, pardon me, I'm not able to recall the right word. So you'll find that these particular tribes, they have revolted when their regional aspirations were not fulfilled. So we as an Indian as well as administrator have to understand that we have to take care of their regional aspiration and fulfill them as soon as possible before we find the genesis of certain countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. These are where basically the countries whose regional aspiration was not fulfilled by the USSR and hence separated, and hence this become the condition of tribe and nation state in India. We have completed the paper 2, 8.1 and 8.2, that is complete chapter 8. So thank you for watching, and I would request you to subscribe, okay, and stay tuned. Thank you. Have a great time ahead.